How to Travel Light, the Minimalist Packing Guide. Level B. 2. Upper Intermediate. Traveling light is not just a method of packing, it is a complete shift in how you relate to movement, comfort, and control. Many travelers believe that comfort requires quantity, that safety comes from having just-in-case items, and that the more prepared they are, the more they will enjoy the journey. Yet experience shows the opposite. The heavier you carry, the more you think about your luggage instead of your trip. Minimalist packing frees the body and mind, not just the suitcase. The modern traveler often repeats the same mistake, fitting their entire home into their bag. A second pair of shoes, a backup jacket, extra electronics, cosmetics for every situation, clothing for every mood. None of it feels heavy when you lay it out on the bed. Weight only becomes reality when you start walking through airports, changing trains, climbing old city stairs, or running for buses. In that moment, every gram becomes a choice you wish you had not made. Traveling light teaches you to choose before that moment arrives. Minimalism in packing is not about sacrifice, but about clarity. Instead of preparing for all possible futures, you prepare for the most likely one. You learn to trust yourself. You will manage if you need something, you will adapt if conditions change, and you will survive if you repeat the same t-shirt. The reason many travelers overpack is not because they need more, it is because they fear having less. That fear creates a suitcase full of objects that replace confidence. When you pack lightly, you begin to think differently about what you own. You stop measuring things by how they look and start evaluating how they function. A single comfortable pair of shoes you can walk in for hours is worth more than 3 stylish pairs that hurt after one block. A neutral outfit that matches everything provides more freedom than a suitcase of clothes chosen for Instagram aesthetics. When you travel with less, you live more practically and, ironically, more beautifully. A light traveler is also a flexible traveler. They do not worry about check-in limits, lost luggage, or waiting at baggage belts. They move with their bag, not behind it. You can step off a plane and immediately start exploring the city without returning to a carousel or filling forms of missing suitcases. You carry everything you need, and everything you need is with you, not somewhere in a system controlled by airports. Air travel becomes less stressful when everything fits in one cabin bag. You learn the pleasure of walking past long lines, skipping luggage fees, and boarding with calm. Freedom is not just a word. It is physical lightness, the sensation of movement without friction. A 4-hour transfer no longer feels like a waiting room. It becomes part of the journey, something you can enjoy because you are not dragging weight through it. Minimalist packing also changes how you see memories. When you carry less, you collect experiences instead of objects. You do not fill your luggage with souvenirs that break, wrinkle, or weigh down your return trip. Instead, you remember the taste of local food, the street music at sunset, the smell of a rainy morning in a new city. You discover that an empty hand opens more doors than a full suitcase. There is a deeper psychological shift as well. Traveling light makes you comfortable with repeating clothes, improvising solutions, and relying on local resources instead of imported ones. You stop being a passenger who brings their world with them and become a traveler who meets the world as it is. You no longer avoid change, you step into it. Many explorers report that after their first truly minimalist trip, they never go back to their old habits. They realize that traveling light builds creativity, problem-solving, and calmness. You learn to wash a t-shirt in a bathroom sink, dry it overnight, and feel proud rather than embarrassed. You choose quality over quantity, Fewer items, better chosen, used with care. Your bag becomes an extension of your movement, not a burden that slows it down. The world becomes easier to move through when you are not dragging weight behind you. Old European cities with narrow streets, tropical islands with sandy paths, long metro systems with endless staircases, none of them feel difficult when your backpack weighs less than a small child. You blend in, you move freely, and you do not need constant rest. Minimalist packing is ultimately a philosophy of trust. Trust that the world will offer what you need. Trust that you are resourceful enough to adapt. And trust that travel is not about controlling every hour, outfit, and condition. It is about discovery. The lighter you pack, the more you see. The more you see, the less you need. That is the quiet secret of minimalist travel, not having less, but feeling more. Packing light begins with understanding that most travel anxiety is created before the journey even starts. The suitcase becomes a symbol of control, a container for all our what-if scenarios. What if it rains? What if there is a formal dinner? What if I get cold? What if I need something unusual, something rare, something I could simply buy for a few dollars at the destination? Travelers often pack for a fantasy trip rather than the real one, preparing for every extreme rather than the likely rhythm of days filled with walking, eating, resting, and exploring. Minimalist packing asks for honesty about your actual plans, not your imagined possibilities. Once you accept that every item you bring must serve a purpose, packing becomes easier. A shirt is no longer a color or a mood, but a tool that helps you stay comfortable. A jacket is not a social statement, but a layer of warmth. Shoes are not fashion choices, but vehicles for movement. You start to see clothing the way long-term travelers do, not as decoration, but as durable equipment. When function becomes the priority, style naturally simplifies. Oddly enough, simplicity tends to look better when you travel. Neutral colors, soft fabrics, and adaptable pieces create a sense of elegance that is effortless. The fear of repeating outfits disappears when you realize that nobody remembers what you wore yesterday, not even you. Travelers remember the taste of street food, the sound of waves, the architecture glowing at sunset, but never the color of their socks. In a world where social media magnifies appearance, minimalist packing returns you to the world of lived experience, where comfort and presence matter more than constant variation. You also begin to notice how space affects your mood. A light backpack creates a calm state of mind that a heavy suitcase destroys. When you have room in your bag, you have room in your thoughts. Travel no longer feels like a battle with zippers and weight limits, but a continuous movement. You do not struggle to lift your luggage into a train, to drag it across cobblestones, or to carry it up guest house staircases in cities where elevators are rare. You feel aligned with the journey rather than burdened by it. Hotels and guest houses feel different, too, when you arrive with less. You unpack quickly, not because you are rushing, but because there is so little to unpack. Your room stays organized without effort. You do not lose things because there is nothing to lose. You become more present because you spend less time arranging your belongings and more time observing the world outside your window. Minimalist travel also transforms the last day of your trip. Instead of sitting on your suitcase to close it, you glide through the morning with ease. You do not fear that airport scale. You do not need to discard items or rearrange them. You simply move. The return home becomes as light as the departure. Many travelers who adopt a minimalist approach report an unexpected result. They feel more confident. When you realize how little you truly need, you begin to trust yourself in deeper ways. You learn that comfort does not come from objects, but from adaptability. You can wear the same jacket for 10 days, wash a shirt in the sink, dry socks in the sun, and feel completely fine. The world ceases to feel threatening because you are no longer trying to predict every detail. This confidence extends beyond clothing. Suddenly, you are not afraid of delayed flights, unexpected weather shifts, or last-minute plans. You know that your bag, like your mindset, can handle change. Travel becomes less about controlling events and more about participating in them. Another subtle change occurs when you stop overpacking. You spend less money. When you carry fewer items, you realize how many travel purchases are attempts to fix discomfort created by overpacking. Heavy bags lead to taxis instead of public transport, replaced items instead of washed ones, souvenirs instead of photographs. When traveling lightly, you make choices slowly. You notice how food tastes, how coffee smells in the morning, how light falls on buildings. You listen to the world instead of dragging your world with you. Minimalist packing liberates you from dependency on things. It teaches you to use what you have, borrow what you lack, and let go of what is unnecessary. You start to feel that the world is full of resources and kindness, not of danger and shortage. A traveler who trusts the journey no longer needs 3 backup sweaters and 5 emergency chargers. They need awareness. Light travel also encourages deeper interaction with local culture. When you carry less, you seek experiences instead of comforts. You talk to shopkeepers, ask for laundry services, learn how locals handle rain, sun, or cold. You begin to live as they do, not as a portable version of yourself from home. You stop being a visitor with luggage and become a participant with presence. Ultimately, traveling light reduces one of the greatest psychological burdens of modern life: choice overload. When you have only a few items with you, mornings become simple. You do not stand in front of a suitcase deciding what matches. You dress and go. The day opens itself instead of waiting for your decisions. Your bag becomes a metaphor for your attention. The less you carry, the more you notice. The more you notice, the richer the memory becomes. Minimalist packing is not a restriction, it is an invitation to move freely, to think lightly, and to exist more fully in each destination. Traveling light teaches you that freedom is not in owning everything, but in needing little. True minimalism is not emptiness, but space. Space to walk, to think, to breathe, to explore. When you let go of weight, you do not lose anything essential. You simply gain the world.